back to EDH Deck Building. I am your host, Demo, and we got some spoilers coming out. We actually got quite a few coming out. Again, the never-ending spoiler season has literally been a thing for quite a while now. And I don't know if it's because not a lot of people are excited about Commander Masters, you know. I've seen a few videos already that not a lot of people are buying it, so maybe Wizards of the Coast is panicking a little, so they're dumping a bunch of more spoilers on us, this time newer stuff to get us excited about that. I don't know, but already, again, we're already getting spoilers from not just one, but two new sets, from what I've seen anyway. I wake up this morning and I see all these new cards that I've never seen before from two different sets. Doctor Who, and I'm sure a lot of people have seen those cards already, right? That's the Universes Beyond or Universes Within. I'm not sure which term we're supposed to use there. And also Wilds of Eldraine. So I'm just going to talk about a bunch of them here, right? We'll first say they apparently are reprinting Smothering Tithe again in this Wilds of Eldraine set. And like I just said in the Commander Masters review where they reprinted Smothering Tithe, I'm like, you know what? This is one of those cards where I'm thinking they're just going to keep reprinting it and reprinting it and reprinting it until it is like a $2 card, just like Sol Ring, and everyone can have one in their deck, right? Because that sort of solves the problem. All the people out there complaining about Smothering Tithe, people complained about Sol Ring the same way, where it's like this really powerful card that because it was kind of expensive, not everyone had one in their deck. So then they just started printing it in literally every set just to shut everyone up, I guess. They might be doing the same with Smothering Tithe and some of these other powerful cards, you know, other powerful Commander staples as well. So let's get to some newer cards, though. I'm going to start out with a new Commander here, Talion the Kindly Lord, 2 blue and a black, Fairy Noble 3/4 with flying. As Talion the Kindly Lord enters the battlefield, choose a number between 1 and 10. Whenever an opponent casts a spell with mana value, power, or toughness equal to the chosen number, that player loses 2 life and you draw a card. Wow, that's a funny one. Man, this is a really tough one to evaluate. As I say all the time, whenever you have an ability on your commander that is based entirely around what your opponents are doing, I talked about Sharky, it's not great because how do you actually build around it, right? Whenever an opponent casts a spell with that mana value, power, like there's no way that I can think of that you can manipulate that. The only thing you can do here is force your opponents to cast spells, right? So if you do something that, like a delay, right? Delay would be a card where they'll cast a spell that will trigger this, and then you can delay it, and it gets suspended, and then when the counters come off, it gets cast again. So delay might be a good card in this deck where if they cast a spell that triggers my commander, I can delay it, and then it will be cast again, so it will be triggered again. Right? So that's one thing you can do here, but there's not a lot, right? There's not a lot of things you can do to force your opponents to cast spells to trigger your commander. And obviously, you don't know what's in your opponent's deck unless you play against them in your playgroup all the time. So how often is this going to be triggering? I think the best option here is 1, right? Whenever an opponent casts a spell with a mana value, power, toughness equal to the chosen number, that player loses 2 life and you draw. Like, I think you just choose 1 here, right? Why would you choose 10? That's never going to trigger, right? I mean, I can't think of any reason. I mean, 2, 1 or 2, like a low number, because it is for sure more likely that your opponent is going to be casting spells with a mana value that is lower, but even the power toughness as well. I would imagine if you looked at all the creatures available in the Commander format, power toughness 1 is going to be the most common. Right. So I think you would just choose, I don't know if there's some flavor here or why the choose 1 to 10, but you would never choose a high number here, right? I don't think. Always, wouldn't you just choose 1, maybe 2? Interesting commander. Let's talk about Tough Cookie. And when I saw this, I was like, is this like an uncard or something? It's a gingerbread man. But then I thought, oh yeah, this is from Wilds of Eldraine. So it's from Eldraine where they did the sort of like the story time, they had the fables from there. They were sort of playing on that. So I guess that's, sort of where they're getting this from. 1 and a green, food golem, of course. 2/2, when Tough Cookie enters the battlefield, create a food token. Okay, so lots of food stuff in the format now, lots. That used to be a fringe thing, it's not anymore. This ability, though, is why I'm talking about this card. 2 and a green, target non-creature artifact you control becomes a 4/4 artifact creature until end of turn. That's a really good ability in a lot of decks. obviously the food decks, right? And that's where this guy can be really good. Also has 2 and tap, sacrifice tough cookie, you gain 3 life. I don't know if you're ever going to do that. It's a food though, so it has to have that ability. That ability, now if I'm in any token theme, if I'm in a treasure, clue, or food token theme, I guess a blood token, but I don't know if there's any green decks doing that. Mostly you're going to be the food tokens, the clue tokens, and possibly the treasure tokens. This is going to be a great fit, because now I can turn those, especially the food tokens or maybe the clue tokens, where they can start to pile up. Again, that's what I found in my Denic deck with doing clue tokens, is they really start to pile up, and I just can't pay the 2 mana all the time. So I find other ways to use them, and this is a good way to, 3 mana is kind of a lot, but later in the game, it's very easy for you to pay, 9 mana and turn 3 of those food or clue tokens into 4/4 artifact creatures and swing with them. So I think this card's definitely going to see some play. This card's definitely going to see some play, and I'm not sure how I feel about this one. Moonshaker Cavalry, 5 white, white, white. And if that casting cost looks a little familiar, imagine those pips were green. Let's just say that. Spirit Knight flying 6/6. So 8 mana for a flying 6/6. Better have a good ability. Oh, it does. When Moonshaker Cavalry enters the battlefield, creatures you control gain flying and get +X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. So this is a white Craterhoof Behemoth. That's right. And I'll just say this. First of all, I'm not a big fan of Craterhoof Behemoth. Never have. If it got banned in the format, I wouldn't be sad. That is the card I have lost to more than any other card. I would say actually it's starting to get close, because my patrons don't play that card a lot. I used to play against it all the time. So it's starting to, fade away. But if there was one card where I can just say that's the card that I've lost to the most Commander games, Craterhoof Behemoth would be it. I wouldn't be sad to see it go. I don't think it should be. I'm just saying I'm just kind of tired of losing to that card. That's all. That's why I started playing Settle the Wreckage and cards like that, because it's a great Craterhoof Behemoth hate card. Now we're doing that in white too. And it's like, was this needed? This is going to be a crazy expensive card, by the way. Craterhoof Behemoth has been reprinted a bunch, and it's still pretty expensive. This is going to be a crazy expensive card. Everyone's going to want it for their white token decks, soldier, knights especially. Knight and Spirit. It is a Knight and Spirit. So obviously it's going to be just an auto include in those decks. Flying is better than Trample, right? Because Trample, you can actually block. Actually, I'm not even sure. Is flying better than Trample if you want to get in for damage? I think, if you happen to be playing against a guy who's playing like Dragon Tribal or something, maybe not. So, that's a toughie. Also, when this guy enters the battlefield, he doesn't give himself haste. Great Craterhoof gives himself haste, so you're guaranteed to have one big attacker. Here, this guy comes down and won't be able to attack right away, but your entire team getting +X, that Craterhoof Behemoth effect. For sure, this is going to be a Commander staple going forward. And again, I'll just say, I've been talking about white card draw for years now. White getting all the great card draw, I just played against one of my patrons who has a Mangara, essentially mono white card draw deck, and he's just drawing cards like crazy. Now we're giving white Craterhoof Behemoth effects. I'm just saying, not a lot of drawbacks to playing white. They already got the best removal. Here's another one. All right, moving on. And I'm going to talk about some Doctor Who stuff here. I know there's probably a lot of big Doctor Who fans out there. I'm not myself. I've never watched it. I will just say it is a little weird. Again, it's sort of like Stranger Things or Walking Dead. It's not a super great fit. Whereas I thought that Dungeons and Dragons was a good crossover material for Magic the Gathering. I thought Warhammer 40K, even though Warhammer 40K didn't necessarily seem like a good one, they did a really good job, I thought, integrating it into, and that set is really fantastic. I still go back to that set and find neat cards to put in Commander decks. They did a really good job there. I didn't love the, I don't think anybody loved The Walking Dead. The Stranger Things, I didn't love either. And this, I'm not really loving it a whole lot either. Again, just because I don't think it fits. Like, if you're a huge Doctor Who fan, flavor-wise, they might be hitting the nail on the head and you get excited, right? But I'm just evaluating these cards just like I did with Dungeons and Dragons. Again, I'm a Dungeons and Dragons guy, and I got kind of excited when I saw Vorpal Sword and all these cards. but I still evaluated them on their face. I tried to be objective about it. And when I saw cards with like the D20, I've rolled a D20 thousands of times in my life. And when I saw Magic cards with D20 on it, I was like, I don't know if I like that, right? I don't really like the dungeon mechanic. I still don't really like it. And there are some things here where I'm just like, I don't know if I love this. So let's look at this card here. Sarah Jane Smith. It's a legendary creature, right? Human detective. I don't think we've ever had detective. And again, when you get these new creature types now, I'm just thinking, is there going to be there might even be some cards named detective. I'm trying to think. There might be some where now we might have to go back and errata the creature type. Is Thraben Inspector now going to be a detective? I don't know. 2/1. When you cast a historic spell, investigate. This ability triggers only once each turn. And of course, we used to be when you saw that ability, like with Dennick, everyone's like, run for your lives. It only triggers once each turn. But it's so easy to use. And this has Doctor's Companion, which I'm assuming means that if you have a doctor as your commander, you now can have another. It's like partner. Just like with the Friends Forever, right? They're just doing partner, but in a different way because they don't want to do partner. They don't want to revisit partner because then it opens the door up to Thrasios and Tymna and all that stuff, right? This is on its face, if we forget about the Doctor's Companion and what we can match it up with, this on its own is pretty good. Whenever you cast a historic spell, so artifacts is probably the easy ones. Any deck that's doing very heavy artifact would be a great fit because every time I cast an artifact, I get an artifact. Right? Again, the clue token is an artifact. That seems like a slam dunk, right? And in fact, I don't know if there's going to be a great partner situation here, but this just seems like a really fantastic slam dunk in any white artifact deck. It triggers only once each turn, but still, if I can cast artifacts on other people's turn to flash or whatever, right? It seems like pretty good value there, where I'm just casting an artifact, getting another artifact. Pretty great fit. Again, there's a lot of weird things going on. Some of these commanders that I don't really want to tackle. I don't really understand exactly what's going on. Again, I don't know how much I'm going to actually talk about this set because I don't know if I exactly love a lot of things going on. There are some interesting ones though. The Face of Bo is certainly an interesting one. It's a head in a jar, looks like. 1 blue, red, and a white. Alien Advisor, 0/4. So now we have aliens in the game of Magic. Again, I don't know if are there some older cards we're going to have to errata here maybe? Tap, you may cast a spell with suspend from your hand. If you do, pay its suspend cost rather than its mana cost. Activate only as a sorcery. Wow, I think there's some real potential there. This is just a tap. And obviously, I don't know if red, white, and blue are the best suspend colors, but certainly there's no shortage of suspend cards in those colors. And you can now cast an Ancestral Recall in Commander, right, guys? Because of course you can just take Ancestral Vision, which the suspend cost is 1 blue, and that's going to be the most powerful effects is those, I guess Time Spiral did that, right? Where they turned that really powerful spell into a suspend card, so they powered it down. So now I'm essentially casting an Ancestral Recall because I can tap this guy, cast my Ancestral Vision for 1 blue mana. So 1 blue mana, draw 3 cards, right? So again, this isn't super exciting. I don't think you're going to put untappers in here so you can use your commander more than once a turn. You're going to put obviously a ton of suspend cards in here. There's not much to talk about. It's interesting for sure. Just suspend tribal though. Way more interesting though is River Song. I guess it must be a character. Obviously, I don't know any of these characters. This is one heck of a creature type. So 1 blue and a red, human Time Lord Rogue. And obviously it's a legendary creature, so there's a whole lot of words crammed in there. That's a lot. And again, Time Lord, I don't know if those are two separate creature types or not. There's a space there, so they must be, right? So time is now a creature type in the game of Magic, right? Time Lord. So I don't know. I think that's how that works. If there's a space there, that means that's its own creature type, doesn't it? Anyway, it's a 2/2. Meet in reverse. You draw cards from the bottom of your library rather than the top. Oh boy. That is, it's probably flavorful. Again, the time in reverse thing. That's a really powerful effect, I think. And the first thing I think of is scry. So when you scry, you're going to scry to the bottom, but then you'll draw it. So basically, whenever you scry, you would do the opposite of what you would normally do, right? You would you would scry, and the cards you don't want, you would keep on top, and the cards you do want, you'd put on the bottom, because that would be the card you draw next, right? So that's kind of funny. This might be a difficult deck to play. Could you get into some really serious shenanigans here? Maybe. I mean, there's a lot of, obviously tuck that thing on the bottom of your library, right? I don't Proteus Staff, right? I tuck a creature on the bottom of my library and then reveal a creature, and then I know I'm going to draw that card. Like, you could just have a creature, like an Ornithopter, right? I Proteus Staff my Ornithopter, tuck it on the bottom, reveal a big fantastic creature off the top, and then I just draw my Ornithopter, play it again for free, and repeat the process. That, off the top of my head, that's some neat thing you could do with this deck. We got other stuff going on here, though. Whenever an opponent scries, surveils, or searches their library. Oh boy. So scry and surveil is a lot. Search their library is a whole lot. Put a +1/+1 counter on River Song. Then River Song deals damage to that. Oh, wow. Man, they should have just stuck with that first ability, because that's a really interesting build around. Now we have, scry and surveil. Okay, if you're playing against like scry, I would say is something that probably happens in most commander decks. I play the scry lands in all my commander, or most of my commander decks, the 2-color ones anyway. So there's a scry, right? So every time I play that scry land, this gets a counter, and they're going to get to deal. I mean, if it has no counters on it, they put a counter on it, then they deal 3 damage to me. That's really good. Every time I play a scry land, they're going to deal 3 damage to me. Ouch. If you're in any deck where you're casting, I mean, obviously there's lots of stuff that just scry incidentally. If you're in a deck where you're just doing a whole lot of scrying, you might as well be playing a Gaddock Teague against a Spellslinger deck or something, or an Erebos against a life gain deck, that you're now the arch enemy with that person, right? Because every time they scry, you're going to be just killing them for damage. But also searches their library every time. See, now, with that ability, this commander just became Turgid or something, right? I mean, I don't know if maybe that's a bit of an extreme comparison, but that's what's going to happen here, where you're going to be playing, and every time I cast a Rampant Growth, you put a counter on your River Song and you deal me 3 damage. Then the next turn I cast my Cultivate, you put a counter on your commander and you deal me 4 damage. Boy, that's gonna, and I know people will see that and they'll like that. And a lot of people will, and man, I talk about this a lot on my channel. A lot of people will see that and they'll go, okay, I love that because I hate tutoring in Commander. So that guy I play against who casts Vampiric Tutor and Demonic Tutor all the time, now I'm going to run out and make this deck so I can hurt them for all the searching they're doing. Sure, but how many people play Rampant Growth? How many people play Evolving Wilds? Look it up on EDH Rec. It's a lot. Those are some of the most popular cards in the entire format. Cultivate, right? I think Cultivate's like the 4th most popular card in the entire format, or 5th or something. Like that's searching too, right? When you see searching, don't just think Demonic Tutor, Vampiric Tutor. Think about all the land ramp, all the fetch lands, all the everything. And what's going to happen is you're going to be playing against the guy, right? So someone's got this deck, and that guy's going to Vampiric Tutor and Demonic Tutor on turn 2 and 3, and then maybe a Spellseeker. Now this guy's already like a 5/5 or a 6/6. Then you cast your harmless Rampant Growth, and you're going to take 6 damage to the face, because the guy before you was casting lots of, those hardcore powerful tutors. If they would have just said scry or surveil, then we're like, okay, that's not bad. But because of that, every time your opponent searches their library, they're going to take a ton of damage to the face. This is going to be an archenemy commander. This is going to be a kill on sight commander. This is going to be, you're going to have the odd guy that doesn't really search at all. And I don't do a lot of searching in my decks. Again, if I'm playing a green deck, of course, I'm going to be ramping a lot. I'm going to be casting a Wood Elves or a Farhaven Elf or a Sakura Tribe Elder. Of course I am, because that's what green does. If I'm not playing any of my green decks, I probably don't do it a lot. I don't even play fetches really at all. But still, again, some other guy's ramping like crazy. This has 10 counters on it. And then I just happen to do that one tutor in my deck, and I'm going to take 12 damage to the face, and it kills me, so this is just going to be a kill on sight commander, I think, a lot of the times, which is unfortunate because that first ability is really, really interesting and you could do some neat things with it. Again, even whenever an opponent scries or surveils, you could have left on there, but searches their library. Again, I talk about this with Archivist of Ogma. Everyone's like, it's not that good. No, people search their libraries a lot. in a commander game. And again, some guys ramping or searching a lot, and this gets like 8 counters on it, and then I play my Scry land. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll play my Temple of Enlightenment. Oh, I just took 10 damage to the face, right? So that's a toughie. I think they went too far with this, for sure. I think they went too far with the creature types as well. It kind of looks silly. But anyway, this is one of those commanders. This is going to be one of those commanders that, geez, this might even be a CEDH commander. If some CEDH player can figure out how to use that first ability in some win con scenario, this could easily be a CEDH commander. It's really powerful. All right, that is it for today. Again, I just thought I would throw some spoilers out there. I actually didn't really do any spoiler videos for Commander Masters, so I'm like, it's been a minute. Why don't I actually make a spoiler video? Because it has been, I guess, a month maybe since I actually did spoiler videos. Literally been nonstop with the spoilers. Because we got, I think we got March of the Machine and then Aftermath very quickly after that. And then Lord of the Rings right after that. And then as soon as Lord of the Rings was spoiled, like 2 days later, we're getting Commander Masters. And now I just did my Commander Masters review on Monday. And now we're already getting not just 1, but 2 sets. I don't know if these are official spoilers or if, sometimes this stuff leaks, whatever. You guys let me know what you think of this new stuff. That is it for today, though. And thanks for tuning in.